there, my name is Blumer, and I'm a music teacher and a PhD candidate in the music education program from Western University, Canada. During the initial months of the pandemic in 2020, I had a chance to conduct a pilot study alongside a music teacher, participants, families, and volunteers of Dreams Come True Music Studio, an inclusive musical program based in London, Ontario. Today I will present the processes and outcomes related to that participatory action research. Conceived by Alison Connor in 2018, Dreams Come True offers people of all ages and abilities the opportunity to sing, dance, and experience musical theater as they are able. Every season culminates in a showcase concert where DCT musicians showcase their abilities by performing a live concert. Like many other groups during the pandemic, DCT participants were forced to reinvent themselves, creating their own way to engage with each other, rehearse, and perform music online. Exploring a participatory action research methodology, I accompanied Ms. O'Connor and her group throughout the process of moving DCT musical theater program from face-to-face to online. I engaged with the music teacher's actions, reflections, decision-making processes, and the volunteers and caregivers' everyday action in the virtual space. During the diagnosing, reflecting, acting, and learning PAR cycles, the group identified challenges, concerns, and alternatives to deal with that new reality. Among individuals and collective gains, creating new aesthetics to perform a musical theater online turned it out into an emancipatory practice for DCT participants toward finding their own and meaningful ways to make music and perform musical theater on Zoom. According to Thorpe, the everyday actions performed by ordinary citizens responding to the pandemic have promoted transformation, engagement, and positive impacts throughout local communities. This way, in this presentation, I also want to shed light on the everyday actions and creations performed by DCT group responding to the pandemic and learning how to exist and make music in a virtual environment, as well the impacts of their actions on their community back there and today. The conception of conscientization proposed by Freire and revisited by Schmidt was used to address the historical subjects' interventions in their reality through their everyday actions. The notion of education as practical intersubjectivity, presented by Biesta, was used to organize the pedagogical actions, interactions, and how the teacher explored gestures, sounds, and events for the co-constructions of meanings within the virtual environment. During the participatory study, some of the themes that emerged among the leader and group participants in 2020 related to, first, the challenges and concerns such as the lack of technological knowledge and skills, or the fear of losing connections and their sense of family, even uncertainties about how the rehearsals or the concert would look like in virtual. These quotes from participants convey some of these initial concerns. The music teacher said, "My biggest fear was technology, and then wondering if people would actually participate and buy into it." A volunteer said, "I'm really anxious about the concert coming up because I don't know what to expect. I don't know how it all going to be pieced together." And a volunteer and a family member posed, "It was just meant as a parent, and now you are, well, essentially a family member as well as a volunteer. You know, you were part of something though, and now not being able to do that physically is difficult." Later, the participant reported that they started to reflect on what actions could be helpful meeting the initial group's needs at that time. So they decided to try things like doing check-ins and check-outs to encourage participation online, practicing tech skills and modeling attitudes in virtual, for instance, doing simple things such as practicing how to mute and unmute yourself on Zoom, or how to adjust the camera position. They created a messenger group to keep participants, families, and volunteers connected. They also decided to take some risks and open the virtual space for people to try new things. Such ideas ended up as new strategies for their final concert. Thinking about how the group could make their final showcase concert work online, the music teacher decided to invite participants to do a kind of an opening cabaret show, where people could come and perform short solos online in any way they feel comfortable. For example, people could sing a cappella or use their cell phones to sing along with a karaoke or a music track. One of the volunteers saw that strategy as an opportunity of fostering creativity. She said, "It also gives them, the DCT musicians, an opportunity to be creative, bringing their microphones in or bringing their props in. Like, I think that part, the dramatic part of it, is also beneficial." This leads me to talk about how the teacher and the participants explored the Zoom space to create meaningful interactions and participation. So the participants started to explore the Zoom square using props, creating their own scenario backgrounds, playing with gestures and face expressions to create meanings and express themselves. The teacher also encouraged participants to suggest activities for the rehearsals, so they also could talk about what would work better for them in that context. The teacher also encouraged one of the nonverbal musicians to participate using his speech generator device for singing and saying his lines. These family member quotes can help us to visualize those actions happening. One of the moms said, "Usually Allison has all the props and does all that stuff. So it's like, what should we do online?" While helping her son to think about his props for the concert, she asked him, "How do you see yourself as a tree?" In this picture, you can see how that question was answered and how the meanings gained form on the Zoom square. Another family member and volunteer mentioned, "I said to Allison, while they are singing, could he have a puppet or something else?" referring to her son with limited verbal skills. And she said, referring to Allison, "No, he can use his device, to sing." And I am like, "Oh, I never thought of that." Among the individual and collective gains reported by DCT participants, we can find autonomy and confidence, the development of tech, social, and communication skills. And we also had people recognizing Zoom as a less intimidating space to sing along and perform. Here are some of the volunteers' comments about that. "To be honest, the quiet ones, about shy or less talkative participants, I think that knowing a couple of them myself personally, this virtual has been actually very helpful for them. And I think they come more engaged through these means than what they were when they were actually in person." That is what is nice too. You can see the effects of dreams beyond dreams. And another volunteer said, "I can see her," referring about her daughter, "reading music more, and I can see her, maybe concentrating more on one person's performance." Among the collective gains, I want to highlight the empowerment throughout the process toward the final concert, the creation of a unique and accessible aesthetic to perform the virtual concert. And there were several gains in terms of audience range, considering quality, diversity, and location. And many mention it as a gain, the idea of being able to spread out the message of inclusion to more people. They said, "It is incredible how we can accomplish together as a community when we really want to be engaged with each other, right? This is empowering." Another volunteer said, "So it was a little bit more personal for me too, because it wasn't the measure of people that were there, but the people that were there, for example. I had people in Scotland watching, but never seen the concert before. That was amazing." Another volunteer said, "I felt it was a great success in just spreading that message that, It's so important to have inclusion, and everyone has abilities. Going through this conscientization process, the music teacher Alison O'Connor and DCT participants become more conscious about their everyday actions while working in a collaborative and a participative form. They were able to identify challenges and concerns and together created alternatives to serve and sustain DCT running in a virtual model. That experience also helped them to envision and shape new possibilities for the future. Today, that initial concern that running DCT online would result in losing connections or their sense of family turned into an acknowledgement that the virtual environment indeed can help the group reaching more people. For example, last December, the DCT musicians connected with my former musical theater group from São Paulo, Brazil. Besides making new friends, both Community Institute Ser from São Paulo and DCT from London performed to each other on Zoom within a cultural exchange. They had a great time talking about cultural differences and commonalities, as well as sharing their experiences as performers in Brazil and in Canada. In terms of aesthetics, in some ways, the DCT openness to embrace extreme flexibility and multiple means of performing and engaging while presenting their showcase concert on Zoom resonates with an inclusive practice known as relaxed performances. Through Rice and Bass, the relaxed performances and its original idea of reimagining spaces considering sensory abilities, particularly to accommodate people in the audience, have also been explored as a form of radical accessibility. In more recent approaches, relaxed performances has been designed to serve audiences and performers alike, which invite us to think of new ways of listening and being with others and creating aesthetic experiences to showcase the vitality and creativity of people living with difference. In this sense, as performers and educators, we could think of conceiving new aesthetic experiences also as an emancipatory practice helping us to reimagine experiences in the classrooms, on the stages, within dialogues and engagements, within the performance and other musical contexts. By that I mean reimagining experiences and ways to exist, considering what people can do with their bodies, voices, and minds, but also who they can be and become in those contexts. Finally, I will leave you with the most recent ecstatic creation of Dreams Come True Music Studio and an invitation to think of aesthetic experiences as emancipatory practices in your own musical environments.